What's up, guys? Shawnthebro here, and today, let me actually pull up Streamlabs just to make sure everything looks good. Okay, cool. And today we're gonna get back to the side-scroller, Castlevania-Inspired side-scroller. It's good. I'm good. Is it just me? Does the thumbnail look The thumbnail does look pixelated. The reason for that is actually really funny. I found out if you try and change a thumbnail before the event that you already scheduled happens, it does that. It's actually the second time. I did not know why I did it the first time. This is actually the second time it's happened. And I updated the thumbnail and it happened again. So after the stream, it should be fixed. But yeah, I see that. It's actually really funny to look at. It was all part of the plan. I don't know why you didn't understand. That was clearly what I intended to do. I turned my desktop audio down a little bit from last time because I got a few people saying it was too loud, but make sure you can still hear it when the music comes back. I do want to make sure that there is some music because I like listening to it and I can hear it, but I want to make sure you guys can hear it a little bit. Yeah, well, stop doing it. I know I need to. I need to commit to the thumbnail. I'm gonna start doing that. I'm gonna make the thumbnail before I actually schedule the event because I've been doing it after, and that's how I do my videos. But yeah. So anyway. Let me, I got it up on my phone, just let me pull up the live chat specifically. And, yeah, that blurry thumbnail is actually hilarious to me. I was cracking up over it just a few minutes ago. Take a drink here. Okay, so, today we're going to take it easy a bit. We've been doing AI and a bunch of stuff that, oh yeah, I forgot, it's going to do this every time because I, built from Visual Studio. You know, we've been working on AI and a bunch of stuff that I haven't really worked with before within Blueprint and within Unreal. But I don't want to, you really gonna do this to me? Okay, fine, you are. Let's do it then. Sorry. I had zero time. I hopped into this right when I was free. And I didn't have any time to plan this, so I know what I want to do. Today we're going to do leveling up and experience. So basically we defeat enemies, we gain experience, we level up, and then we can do additional things. So I'm taking a break from things that we're learning. Like, again, I still need to learn more about behavior trees, and I think we're doing really, really well. But I think, you know, let's take a step back. Let's not do all the AI right now. I personally want to learn some more about it, using documentation and all. And I like experimenting. It's fun. It's good for me to learn with. But I do want to learn a little bit more about it, and more importantly, I want to do some performance tests. That way, before I start saying, oh yeah, guys, this is the way to do it, that I know that I'm doing it in at least an okay way. That's not to be the best way. I don't strive for the best way on the stream or even on the tutorials, at least as of yet, because it takes time. Especially if this is the first game you're first game you're working on, or the first game you're making. It's going to take time to actually, you know, make everything nice and neat and perform well. I mean, even today, you know, where I work, I don't specifically work on games, but performance is a huge factor of it. And we have a ton of senior software engineers, and then we have a few mid software engineers like I am. And performance, you know, it can sneak up on you. It can be something little, like, oh, this texture was rendered like 10 times the size we needed, but the fact that it had to be redrawn was causing bugs, or not bugs, but like lag. Sure, okay. But sometimes it's like this one function you're calling over and over. There's a better function to call. It's actually really slow if you do it this way. So there's always going to be performance things, but since I haven't done specifically behavior trees in Unreal, I want to make sure that we can actually do it in a way that's good. I want to tell you guys the right way. I'm always going to be honest with you. I don't know the best way right now, since I haven't done it yet. So I want to research a bit more before we get into that. So now we're taking a break from that, and we're going to get into leveling up and experience, because I think that's a fun one, and I think it's one we can all relate to. It's one I always get excited about. It's, without exaggeration, probably one of my favorite mechanics to work on in games. What's up, guys? Shawnthebro here. Today we're making an 8-bit side-scroller. I don't know why, but I said, you know, screw the one we were already working on. We're just going to start from scratch. Hey, what's up? How you doing, Snatchin'? Let's go! Level up time. This is the level up time, my friend. Well, thank you for coming by. Thank you for the nice message you left on Discord. I am very, very excited. We're going to start playing real quick before we get into the code. I know people watching this afterward probably don't care, but I'm still going to say it. We're going to start getting into Bloodborne on Wednesday on the stream, by the way, which I'm very excited about. We finally finished Dark Souls 3, and I am just ready. And I just wanted to say that. So, yeah, all right. I think I know exactly everything I want to do today as far as material. Like, we can go off and talk about whatever like usual. The only I like that, and he deserves an entrance. Okay, I appreciate that you gave him a good entrance, David. I love that so much. The only snatching. Thanks for coming by, guys. I was talking about last stream. I was like, look how much I gesticulate with my hands. So, you know, now I gotta make sure I'm doing it. All right, guys, I won't waste your time. Let's get into it today. So, I would like to start with the experience and the level system for the character. Before we do anything, kill enemy, level up, and then, you know, you can access these things. We just need to have something in place, and we need to define how we're going to do that. So, unfortunately, I'm launching through Visual Studio, so I'm going to have to close this every time. But let's think about what you need in a game. Now, to be completely fair, in most of the Castlevania games, at least the earlier on ones, there was no leveling. There was no system like that. So this is kind of off-brand for Castlevania, at least the style that we're going for. But it's an important enough mechanic to me that if I was making this game, like we are making all together right now, then I would put it in. So I'm still going to be covering it, even if it's... I realize it's not exactly a Castlevania trait. Wow! Yeah, you got that right, Snatching. Good call. Very good call. There, got called out, by the way. Okay, so let's do that. All we really need to do, leveling up and experience is pretty simple. I've done it in the Action RPG tutorial series. We're going to do it differently here because they're two totally different leveling systems, but it's pretty much the same idea. We need a variable that represents our level, and this can be an integer. We don't really need anything else. I'm actually just going to copy this. Paste it here. And say level. And we need experience points. So there's a few things we can do. We can either have the current experience points the player has all together and figure out the level based on like how many points the character requires to level to reach that level. Or we can have a number of experience points that's required for every level. It can either be like, it's always 2,000 experience and you level up. Or it can even be like, you have 2,000 the first level, 4,000 the next, 8,000 next. We have to figure that out. So let's go with the most complicated because it's honestly not very complicated, but it's the most complicated, and we can then, we'll be able to do any type of leveling system we want if we put that in play to start. I love that. So that is, thank you, by the way. That was awesome. That was like an anime intro. Among billions of people among billions of people of the planet population, Shawnthebro, I love that, is the only one who decided to teach anyone how to make our own fighting game. It's oh my godable. I love that. I love that so much. Thank you. I'm so excited about the fighting game, for the record. Like, I love that you guys love it so much because I've actually been going as far as playing fighting games in my spare time that I wouldn't normally play, not because I don't like them or anything, just, you know, I wouldn't go out of my way to play them right now, like I'm playing other things. I've been going out of my way to play them. That way I can see the mechanics and try and get the feeling right. I know that's a huge part of fighting games, and something like the frames per attack, like up frames, and the, I forget the exact word, but yeah, I can't remember the term right now. But when basically you do an attack and you have more startup frames than them, and they can punish you, things like that. I've been going through the actual hard mechanics of fighting games, and I'm going to try and make a really nice system to do all that. I want you guys to be able to make your own game. So, seriously, thank you so much for that kind comment. I love the anime vibes that it had. But, yeah, I'm really excited. I'm really excited about that. Okay, so, Stalker Pro Kappa. That was, I was a little, you know, I was surprised you got that one. That was good, Snatching. That's me. By the way, I can call you Marco if you'd like. I just don't like making anyone uncomfortable. That is your name on here. So I didn't know if you wanted me to refer to you by that or what. Whatever you want, my friend. In fact, there's not even any challengers since the series started. Literally free real estate. So, yeah, here's the let's talk about... Listen, leveling up and experience is not going to take me all that long today for, like, the entire system. The only thing we won't get is probably, like, what perks you get at certain levels, because we have to actually make the perks, like, oh, you get double jump. Well, then we have to make that. We can probably do one today, but we won't set the whole thing up today. We can talk about that real quick. I like talking about, you know, what you guys are talking about. You guys will know this if you know me from Twitch at all. I cannot stay focused on the topic, so... Yeah, with the fighting game, I mean, the thing is, I want to be able to get to every topic that you guys talk about, and I think we can. The hardest, of course, by far, is going to be the rollback netcode, which I'm still willing to tackle, and the AI is going to be a bit challenging for me. I've done some relatively intelligent AI, but never AI on a fighting game, so I've been looking into... There's actually been, like, papers done for how fighting game works, AI-wise, like the neural networks they use and different algorithms. That's going to be challenging, but I'm willing to take both those tasks on. So, you know, whatever you want, whatever you got, pile it on. I'll keep working on it. Sunday's episode is going to be about the camera. It's actually a very short episode because I didn't feel like I should cram too many different topics in here. Basically, it's going to allow it to... So once you get to the edge of the screen, it's going to stay at the edge. It's not going to keep following the players to the middle. So basically, once you reach the left wall or the right wall, then the characters can get stuck up against the wall. The camera will get stuck to where, like, the edge of the camera is toward the edge of the wall. That way, you know, you don't have the camera halfway into the wall. Things like that. I think that's a very important one. And I also fixed a bug with some really jittery behavior that was going on when attacking your opponent sometimes. So I fixed those two things. It's a relatively small tutorial in terms of the length, but, you know, they don't all have to be 40 minutes. Sometimes shorter is better. Okay, so let's define the logic we want. I said let's just go for the hardest one we can do. I mean, there's hard leveling systems you can do by making a really complicated algorithm, right? You could make it a very complex, like, this is how much experience I need based on these traits that I have, and based on this. We're not going to be doing that. Okay, we don't need to solve all the mysteries of calculus to be able to level up here. Really what we need to be able to do is just determine a basic system. Let's say we have every level. Let's say we need 100 experience to start, and every level goes up 100 experience. It's not complicated, but really it's probably the hardest out of the other options we had for leveling. So let's just do that, and then, you know, if you're following this series to make your own side-scroller, you should be able to do any of the other ones in between. So first of all, let's save out our experience points that we have, and they can be current experience points or total. Now, the only reason you really ever need total is if you want to display the experience points to the player, or to track, like, the real level. If you have a level cap, you could kind of calculate in your head what level they truly are. I say we just do current level, really. In a game like this, I don't think we need to track, like, true level. You know, this isn't like a multiplayer. This isn't like Apex Legends over here. Let's do current experience. And this would be the... Actually, let's do current level experience. Make this clear what we're saying here. This is how much experience we have toward our next level. And once we level up, we can still transfer our experience over that we got. Like, if we got an additional 200, whatever. But then we can just keep that as the experience. So we do those two things. And then the last thing we need is, we need to know when we should level up. We can do it strictly in the algorithm, depending on how we make it. But regardless, we need a function to gain experience. So let's do that. At the very bottom, I'm going to do this. So I'm going to do void gain experience. And I'm going to do void level up. Okay, and I'm gonna make these both blueprint callable. Someone in the Discord had brought up a good point, and I try and make this clear, but in case I haven't made this clear, this is something I need to say. So I make pretty much everything blueprint callable, blueprint read write, except for like timers and stuff. You don't want to make everything blueprint callable if you don't need it. But what I find that I do that works for me is I like to make pretty much everything blueprint callable, blueprint implementable event when I need it. And then I will go through at the end of the project and trim out things. Or like if I'm going for performance halfway through the project or something, I'll trim out all the ones I don't need. It does technically save you space to not have that, so it is recommended. But you can remove it at any time, so I like to just start with it in case I need it in Blueprint, or if it, for like easy access, I want it in Blueprint, then I keep it. If I'm never going to use it in Blueprint, then yeah, it's good not to have it. But it is good to mention that you should be doing that along the way. I should mention that. I just personally, I've never found success with it because I'll start doing that and then I'm like, man, it's annoying. I got to keep building. Oh, I got to add that. For me, easy to have it all at once toward the end of the project, or again when you're cleaning up for performance, take them out. You do you. I'm not judging anyone for that. My way is technically probably the wrong way. It's like the weird way to do it, but it's what works for me. So I'm gonna keep doing it. We have gain experience and we have level up. We'll probably have another one for like, get ability or something like, I don't know. Earn new ability probably to trigger when we reach a certain level or when we pick a certain thing in a tree, but we'll keep it simple for now. Gain experience and level up. Those are the two things we really need to focus on right now. I'm going to put these all at the bottom. And so gain experience is going to be, we should have, I just realized something. So I made current level experience an integer. We should probably make it a float. I mean, we don't really have to. I'm trying to think if we'll need it to be a float for any reason. Usually you would make it a float, but we have to remember what game we're making this for. This isn't an action RPG. This isn't a multiplayer game. This is just, you destroy an enemy, you get experience points from it. Okay, I think the float is the safer way to go, to be honest, mapping it out in my head. But it doesn't really matter here. Let's keep it an integer for now and see how it plays out. We can always change it later. But we do need to know how much experience we want to gain. And so, int experience. Okay, this is pretty simple. And level up shouldn't really matter because we'll only level up one level at a time. So let's update this, get experience. And here's what we're going to do. We need a way to track when we should level up. So for right now, we can do this. Current level experience plus equals experience. So we take the experience that we have right now, and then we add the experience that we're getting. Gain experience, int experience to gain. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, that's completely correct. So, are you saying, would you like me to change the name to make it a little bit easier to read? I can do that if that's what you're saying. I have no problem with that. EXP to gain, we can do that. I'll go with that. Actually, no. I'm gonna leave it like this. I actually will show you why in a second, because I think it'll be. I'll show you why. What we do need before we do this is I need to figure out how much experience we have left, and then we can determine if we need to level up after gaining this experience. So, we can have this as two separate variables. We can call this experience gained. I don't want to say experience to gain, and I do have a reason for that. Because it might be confusing when we do this next part, but I think experience gained is okay. I think that clarifies. Yeah. Wow, experience looks so ugly to me right now. You ever look at a word and it looks really ugly? Just looks like it's not spelled correctly. Alright, so here we go. Experience gained. Current level experience. Sorry, I'm trying to think of everything before I do it. I want to do this one and done. So we're going to we'll go with each, our experience is an integer. And we will do basically every level you added 100 experience. We could do it the level times a number. Like, for example, the current level that they are multiplied by 2 and then plus 100. You know what I mean? So that way it's like a scaling thing. We'll do that. Let's do that as our algorithm. Let's do our current level times a number, an arbitrary number. Let's do 10 probably, and then plus 100, which will be another arbitrary number. But it's like, you kind of have to do this every time, but then it's just little increments. You have to do a little bit more each time. That's a simple algorithm for it. You know what? Here. If we're doing it that way, for you, my friend, we'll do EXP to gain. I'm happy with that now. I had to think about it in my head the way I wanted to do it, and we can do this. I'm totally cool with this. So EXP to gain. All right. And now we know what our algorithm is. So let's figure out the algorithm, and let's call this. Let's make a new function for this specifically. So let's make a function for. Actually, here. There we go. We'll call this determine experience, which should just be EXP probably, to let's do determine EXP for level. To level. I think that's good. You guys will learn, if you don't know already, that naming things is the hardest part of programming. If you can name your variables and functions correctly, then you already won. Void. I'm not going to pass anything in. We're basically going to grab the level and use that. We do need a variable to track how much level is required, the total experience. So we'll have another integer, one more. We'll have EXP to level. How about that? I think that's pretty good. Alright, so here's how we can do this. We're going to call the determine EXP to level while we're gaining experience. Or, excuse me, when we're leveling up. And that way we will know how much experience we need to the next level. So that's pretty simple, right? So let's do void a Twitch. Oh, I did spell it correctly. My mind was playing tricks on me. Level up. Like this. And basically once we level up, we will increment level. Add 1 to the current level. And then we will do determine EXP to level. And we'll probably keep it like that. That's probably level up. So we gain experience. We need to know for every level afterward, when we're gaining experience, what number to check for. Right now, experience to level is going to be 0. We don't want that. If you're level 0, or level 1, I guess, you do want to have a number to reach. So we can set this out. So first of all, let's set this up. So level equals 0. We'll start at 0. Probably you kill one enemy and then you level up or something. Then we have current level experience, which should equal 1. Or no, sorry, 0. And experience EXP to level equals 0. I kind of want to change this to just current level EXP. If we're going to be using EXP, I think this is better. That way it doesn't get confusing. That was the wrong key. I'll keep the function name gain experience. That way we do know where EXP is referring to experience, but I think these can all be EXP to simplify things. All right, cool. So, there we go. Accidentally took out my semicolon there when I was backspacing that. Alright, so current level XP. Now, EXP to level, let's make it like, I don't know how much enemies are gonna give yet, but let's make it like 5. Alright. Now, you could, like, if your algorithm for leveling is very complex, you can put it into a data table and then just grab the values from your algorithm from the data table and then use that. Ours isn't going to be that complex, so we're just going to write it right here. We're going to say EXP to level is equal to our current level times an arbitrary value. Now, this should probably be a variable, but we can just leave it as an arbitrary. Let's do 10. Let's do 5. We can try 10. I mean, again, it depends on how much our enemies are giving us and how much, like, if we have quests that gives us experience, how much the quests give. So we'll keep it like that. And then we'll add by another arbitrary value, which will be kind of the base that we always have to reach. And I feel like, I don't know. But since we're doing it on a small scale on a test level here, let's make it small. Plus 5. Okay. You know, it's not going to stay like this because you'll level up really fast, but let's keep it for now. So, I am going to write a comment if we're going to leave the arbitrary hard-coded values here. So, experience to level equals current level times level modifier. I'll call this one. And then we'll call this plus arbitrary, and it's fine if I refer to it as arbitrary, required experience. So basically I'm saying here that the experience, it's always going to be 5 experience, and then the rest of the experience that's being added to the experience to level is just your level times 10. Really, it's not a complicated algorithm at all. Is it good for scaling? I have no idea. I'm not a game designer, so that's not for me to figure out, really. But, you know, we can do some research, figure out what people use in games, and then probably use a similar one. When I was coding in Aurora, only 2 function types were there, void main and int starting conditional, follow-up declaration. Funniest part is int was actually bool, int 0 or 1 meant false true. Got ya. Yeah, so I'm actually not familiar with Aurora. Like, I know about it. I know you've mentioned it in the past. I've never used it. But the whole main being the one function and the starting conditional, they are kind of like, they're your basic functions. They're really the only 2 functions you need. If you have a main function, then you can actually do everything within your main function. It's very, very bad to do that in something like C++ because C++, its power comes from the fact that you have so many functions. But if you use C#, you'll actually find out that they have a main function very similar to that. And the int being actually a bool. It is kind of funny, but, you know, I've seen that a lot too, actually. So the integer, you know, 0 represents false because there's no value in it, and 1 represents true. So it's cool. Yeah, that sounds cool. You know, I like that you were working in that. Anything you can tell me about that you were interested in, let me know. I'm always excited to learn more about different languages and different engines, so that's cool. But cool, so we have our determined experience to level. Now basically what we need to do is after we've added the experience that we're going to gain, we need to check if the current level XP is now greater than the experience that we had to gain. Or, excuse me, not the experience we had to gain, the EXP to level. And if it's greater than equal to it, actually. And then if it is, we're going to level up. And then we're going to level up, and level up is going to set this variable to a different value. So then when we come out of this, we should not, you know, level up again or anything. And what we will do is once we level up, oh, we will need to, so right now, what we can do, I can show you both methods. So once we level up, we should set our current level XP back to 0, or we should have spill through. So spill through would be basically you know, instead of resetting it to 0, you have that total tracker in the background, or you pass it in as a variable here, and then cut the difference. So whatever the remainder was after you leveled up, you still have your next level. Games do it both ways. Transferring it over and having that remainder is, in my opinion, it's better. It's better for the player. We'll leave it like this for now. I can show you how to do both. They're very simple. So here we go. This should be pretty much everything we need. We do want to display this at some point, both probably the level and the current experience, and the experience to level. So let's just go ahead and play this. I will go ahead and add those things to our HUD. And while this is building, another thing that gets mentioned to me a lot is, why do you use widgets instead of HUDs? I've just never been familiar with HUDs. I've never taken the time to learn them, which is on me. But I do know that a HUD is actually just a widget that they made that's like a better classification for it. So we can use it. It won't hurt anything. You can do everything that you can do in a HUD within a widget. So it doesn't really matter what you use. If you know how to use HUDs, feel free. I'll probably do a tutorial on it at some point. Okay, so we got our character HUD here. And this was this value that I kind of just put up here was our coin counter. I never applied any text to it. We can still have this, but I'm going to need a little bit more than that. So we have our health counter here, which is representing our health. So our experience can probably be... I don't know, maybe right under the health counter. Let's add text to this one instead of just a random floating number. So we'll call this one level text. I'll say level colon. I like to make all my text, I go to font, and I go to outline settings, and I go to outline size of 2, and I think that makes it look so much nicer. I don't know if I actually did it for this or not. I did not. So kind of just do that in there. It adds a nice little outline to your text. So if you don't have an actual style or anything and you're just using it for the template, it just looks nicer, in my opinion. Now, as for this, you know, you're going to want to anchor these like I've shown in other episodes. I'm not doing all that right now. That's not the point of today's episode, but let's go ahead and put this in position. So let's say 30, 60. I just brought this onto the screen. 430 and 95. But it's at position 64. So let's go 64 and 40, 100, 120. That's pretty good, pretty snug, probably a little bit more. $125 is probably good. Yeah, that's good. Okay, so we'll have our level. Oh, you have succeeded with making a... Yes, we have. Yeah, would you like to see it? I can go... Sorry, I usually start off the stream by going over what we've done. So we have a moving zombie, and he's a little slow on purpose. And basically, he will go to a certain point that we set for him, turn around, and then go that way. He doesn't actually chase us right now or anything like that. He literally just walks back and forth in his little path that we've designated for him. And we can damage him and kill him. If he hits us, we take damage and get knocked back. And I actually have it set up. He can trigger an attack. See right there. So he can trigger an attack and also hit us again. And then he's actually caught on us right now because we haven't disabled our collision. But yeah, so there you go. And we can actually kill him. And his collision goes away. His AI stops, and then he will despawn in a minute here. There we go. So yeah, he's a cool little AI guy. He's your pretty basic AI, but he's a good base AI that we can use in the future. We just need to make him a little bit smarter and do some, you know, more things depending on the different enemies we have. That's basically what we finished up last episode, and it's a good starting point. I also fixed a few bugs we had with the doors. Not really issues with the doors, but issues with the AI when involved with the doors. So yeah, we have our level here. I won't put the colon. I actually don't think it looks as good there. Oops, sorry. Now we're gonna need the bound text for the level, and let's also put our experience in the experience 2 level. So let's put another text on the screen, and let's call it 64 125. So we're gonna put this 125, and we'll put this at 184, 120. Whoops, 184. That'll work. I mean, it's going to be a little close is my problem, so I don't really like that. Not sure, but shouldn't the zombie damage us? Not when his attack and just started to play. Yeah, so right now he's very simple. You're totally correct. Basically, we do have... It doesn't actually damage us right when it starts to play. It actually damages us because we walked into him. It only damages us on the attack when he actually attacks us. So, like, we have damage from being hit right there. Okay? But then if he hits us with the attack, we also take another set of damage. Like if I were to stay here, there's my second hit. So, you're totally correct. He definitely needs some... He will get some minor buffs, but he's like the template character. He's basically to prove... I mentioned this. I don't know if you had heard me mention this, because this was just some random thing I said during one of the streams, maybe last stream. But I like to kind of have everything as like a working state, a base state, before we get into the specifics. Because then I find, oh yeah, we can do this. So then we can work off of what we've got and make things better. For me, that's just easier. A lot of people disagree with that, and that's perfectly fine. Yeah, that's fine. So we'll say experience text. And that's probably good, like positioning-wise. I actually want to move this back a little bit. He's at 60 now. I almost want to move you, like... here, like offset of the box. I think that'll end up looking kind of bad actually, but I'm gonna say EXP. That's funny. I don't know, I kind of don't like the colon in this case. Actually, yeah, it's fine, it's fine. Put you back at 64. We won't need that. And let's move you over. 260. 300. That's... Whoops. Okay, I think that's good, because we're going to need more for the experience. Alright, those are the easy ones. Now we need to add more text. We're going to want to add level binding. You know, you can do that, or you can just do level. I'll just do level bound text. Level number text. How about that? That should make more sense. And we'll use the same values. So for him, probably 80 maybe. And then position Y be 120, right? Is that what it was? Did we use 125? 125, okay. 125. And the level. So, like, I'll put 1 in there by default. That's not too bad. It actually doesn't need to be nearly that far over. I'm gonna size this to content. You can actually just make it so that if you have things that they get bigger, like for example, level can go from 1 digit, like 0 through 9, to two digits, like 12, 59, whatever. And then you could even have 3 digits for your level, 300, maybe more so. So if you need it to change and stay in the same spot, you can size the content, or you can justify it in the middle, and then make sure that the text is in the middle of the box that you want, and don't let it wrap. However you want to do it, it'll work. For now, I'm just going to do that because I only plan on having like maybe 1 to 100, and even so, not that much probably. But just as a rule of thumb, you can do it either of those 2 ways. And now we need basically an experience. It's funny. An experience counter as well. And yes, I'm going to put all these in a canvas, so don't worry. This is current XP number text. I like to make them very specific so we know what we're looking at. And I'll say 20. So level was 64. I'm gonna put this at 60. It's okay if it goes out a little bit. I think it'll look better. We'll put that 155. And so if this one's at 225, 95, so we can put this at 310. What? 310. And that should be pretty darn close. So now we have this, and I want to do I'm actually going to keep this as one box as opposed to separating this. So we'll say EXP number text, and then we'll bind these 2 things. First things first, let's make another canvas so I can organize this a bit. This is going to be level info canvas. We don't need to actually do anything with it right now, but organize it. Now we can know where this is at. These things are okay how they are. The coin counter should be adjusted and have some text, but it's fine. As for this, status info canvas, we'll call it that, because I'll include the health bar. I will keep the coins separate, so I will not put it in there right now. And there we go. Now we just have to bind these to values. So the level is a very simple one. Create a binding for it. And there's a few ways we can do it. In the coin counter earlier in the series, all I did was get the owning player and grab that, and that's probably what we're going to do. This is going to be a single player side scroller, or if we do include multiplayer, it'll be very simple. It's not going to be competitive multiplayer, it'll be cooperative, which makes it a little bit easier, believe it or not. It gives you a lot of freedoms with what you can and can't do. So we're going to just go ahead and basically copy this, where we get the owner of the widget, the owning player pawn, we cast it to the player type that we need, and then we grab the value that we need. We're going to get the level from the character. And I think, yeah, it will let me just cast it without forcing it. I did realize that I don't know if it'll have a problem with this because of the fact that I actually am using the other character now. Should be okay. I might have to update this cast, but that's fine. I also noticed that I did not put the right text, the same text, outline size 2, on the variables we were binding. Hey, what's up? Nice to see you again. How's it going? Yeah, I'll leave that open for now. But we also want to get this, right? So we want to bind this. And again, it's really the same thing. I'm just going to keep copying this because, I mean, nothing else for me to do. And here we need to get a little bit more complex, but still very simple. We need to get basically the current experience that we have, which is the current level XP. And we need to basically make a string out of this. So what I'm going to do is make... it's easier to make a string, actually. So we'll make a string. Okay, something like this. Alright, something like that. And we can just convert these. There we go. So our current level to XP, and then a dash, or excuse me, a backslash. You're doing well, nice. Great to hear. Well, thanks for coming back. Great to see you. Glad you could catch the stream. Let me know if you have any questions in particular with what's going on. We're gonna grab also the experience that we need to level. Should look something like this. You know, it's up to you how you want to format it. But you can see the experience is 0 out of 5. We need 5 experience to level, and we have 1 experience. Now, we have no way of gaining experience currently because we're not calling the functions, but you can see that the bindings are working correctly. We are, in fact, level 0, and we have 0 experience. There you go. Now, we need to gain experience, you know, preferably when we kill enemies. So... one thing we need to do, and I'm going to close Unreal now, is we need to add an experience value to our base enemy, and then we will override it in the zombie so you can see how that works too. So our base enemy, remember this works for all enemies, needs to have a value, an integer of how many experience points they're worth essentially. I don't want to call this just experience. Experience. Told you, naming things is the hardest part of this. Experience worth? I don't know. Yeah, I'm going to start with level 0 because I want it to be like, if we do a tutorial, we'll start level 0, and then by the time you exit the tutorial, we'll be level 1. As far as experience, you got a good name for this? What do you think? Like experience worth? Experience for kill, maybe? How about experience for defeat? I don't know. Who's got a good name for this? We could just call it experience, but I felt like experience worth, what do you think? Something like that, right? This is tough. This is important stuff, guys. It's important that we get it correct the first time around. It's not really that important, but... I'll call it experience for a kill, but if you guys think of something, let me know. And then we need to set this in the base enemy. I am going to break this up a little bit now. Starting to get into more complex stuff. Let's say... EXP rate. EXP quantity could be good. I could go for that. It's not too bad. That's not too bad. Experience for quantity. I might go with that. You can call it that. I think that's fine. EXP quantity. And this is just basically the experience that the enemy is worth. So let's say they're worth a zombie. We can make the zombie be worth more than 5, but I want to show kind of how the spillover works. So let's make it a value that we can level up and then change it and see. So let's make the default 1 EXP, and then we'll override this in the zombie. We can go into our zombie CPP in the constructor, and we can set our EXP quantity to be 3 experience. Yeah, EXP value, honestly, I think that's probably good. I mean, I think everyone will understand what that means. Thank you for the help. I think this is good. I think we'll call it that, because I just, you know, like, I almost want to say, like, experience gain, but then I'm like, they're going to think the experience that the enemy gains, so cool. We'll go with EXP value. I think that's good. Thanks again for the help there. So we'll set that equal to be 3 for the zombie, but 1 by default. So any other enemy that we make will have 1 by default if we don't override it. And basically, once the enemy is defeated, we can do it in code or in blueprint. Since we do have a die that we have, we should do it here. We should award the player with experience. I put it after stop AI logic, which, I mean, he gets destroyed after that. To be completely safe, we should probably do it before that. So we'll say, we could just get the player here, or we could have a reference of the person that killed them. If we ever want to have this multiplayer and we don't want it to go to all the players, we could do that. I'm trying to think what would be the best option here. So the only thing with this, if we do put it in the die for the character, or for the enemy, if the enemy dies from a non-player thing, like the enemy getting killed by friendly fire, the enemy falling off the map, then the player will still get experience. But I'm actually okay with that. I think that'll be good. So I think I do want to do it here. Yeah, so what we'll do is, I guess I will... Hi, Sean. I just started learning C++, and it's such an adventure. I mainly watch tutorials, but also do Udemy courses. Also, after I've gained new knowledge, I create a project with a newly gained skill. Hey, thank you so much for coming by. Can I call you Mo? Thank you so much for coming by. And that is awesome to hear. C++ is incredibly fun, and it is an adventure. To be completely fair, C++ is a more difficult language to learn right off the bat. I did not learn it right off the bat, but I've heard that it is more complicated, and I would honestly agree. I think it is a more complicated language, but it's very powerful, and it's very useful. So that's awesome. I'm glad that you're learning it. Hopefully I'm helping you. And Udemy is a good place to go. I personally have not used it. What do you consider this a good learning strategy? So you're saying watch the tutorials, but also do Udemy courses. After I've gained new knowledge, I create a project with a newly gained skill. Yeah, I think that's great. As long as the Udemy courses are teaching you what you want, I think it's great. That's the only part that I have not done. I actually have not used a Udemy course, but there are people in the Discord community that do, and they really enjoy it. So yeah, I think that is perfect, actually. So what you're doing, what you're saying about learning it and then creating a new project and implementing it, excellent. That is excellent. That's a great way to do it. In fact, it's the way I like doing it. I prefer doing it hands-on. So I think that's perfect. I'd not worry about that at all. I think that's good. The other thing I'd say is if you want, you could put it all in one project as opposed to creating a new project. There is some value to that. It's a little weird. It's a little bit of a trade-off. If you put it in a new project, then you do get more familiar with, you know, how to do this from scratch, which is good. There's also something about there's something important about learning putting those things in an existing project, because it also helps you kind of combine things together. So it's up to you. Honestly, I think what you're doing is great, though. I would not be concerned at all. And thanks again for coming by to the stream. I really appreciate that. I'm going to... I don't really want to store a player reference, but some enemies will need a player reference anyway because they'll need to get the player's location time after time. So we do need a general way to get the player. We can do an actor iterator, but really that's kind of overkill for this episode. We don't really need that, especially if we only are going to have one. So I think the best way to do it is to just grab a reference to it, to be honest. I'm trying to think. I think that's the best way. I actually will have to look this up because I cannot for the life of me remember how to do the iterator. Let's look real quick. Usually I would be doing this in Blueprint, but with AI you want to keep certain things. Like if the class needs it, then it would be good for the enemy to have it in code. My learning strategy is to know what I want to do and modify the knowledge from tutorials, especially for my needs. Yeah, so that's important. Definitely being able to modify is important, and that is very useful. So being able to do that is very good. Yep, here it is right here. Thank you very much, Jamie Holdings. And I've also been here before, so you know that I have this issue quite a bit. This is specifically an actor iterator. So what I'm taking here is a function, well, technically it's just a block of code that will iterate through all the actors in your world and get a specific actor. So, for example, let me show you. But yeah, real quick before I get distracted, that you definitely being able to adapt it to what you want is excellent. That is excellent. That is basically the foundation of coding. Once you know how to do something, being able to adapt it and use it how you find useful that's basically what you need to do. Yeah, I don't like doing this here in Die. What I want to do instead is actually on begin play, I'll flat out do this. So basically when the actor is spawned after they've gone through their constructor, we can go through the actor iterator. I might need to include something actually to do this, but we can pick the correct type. Give me 1 second, guys, my apologies. It's been a while since I've made an iterator in Unreal in code like this. Yeah, I know, we don't want to be T-actor iterator. Where does T-actor iterator come from, though? T-actor iterator. Include engineutils.h. So this is a good way. If you ever see a function online and you want to be able to use this, you know, in your project, but you can't seem to get the function, it doesn't seem to exist, you can look it up, go to their documentation page, which looks like this, and it will tell you what you have to include to be able to get access to this. So include engineutils.h. So when I add this to base enemy, I can add it right here if I want. Then I should be able to get this actor iterator, and you can see the error is now gone. So I can close this, but that's what I wanted. Can I ask a small question? Of course, ask whatever you want, my friend. Here we go. So now we have the iterator here. And an iterator iterates through objects. So if you're not familiar with that term, it basically is a for loop that goes through all of your objects. And here specifically, we're iterating, we're looping through all of the objects of a certain type. Now, if you've ever seen get all actors of class, or get all widgets of class, that's what it is. It's a widget that goes through all the actors, basically checks if it's a certain type, and if it is, then it returns you the value. In this case, I specifically want to look for a Twitch game character, which we won't be able to do because I don't have it included. I don't think I have it in the header file. If we were to have a reference, we would put it in the header file and then fill out the reference. I'm not going to go the reference route just yet. We probably will end up doing that, just so you are aware. But I just kind of want to get this moving at the time, and then we can adjust it later. So Twitch game character, we have to include that so we have access to this class. And then we want to make sure that this is the class we're looping through. So this isn't going to be very expensive because it's going to loop through and grab the all actors of this type. There are still better ways to do it, as I've mentioned just before, and we will probably adjust to that. But this is perfectly fine for now. We're going to also make this a Twitch game character and call it player character. I'm getting a spam risk call. Appreciate that. And now we can use this reference, assuming it's valid. So we can do if player character. Whoops. I just realized what I was doing. That wouldn't make any sense to do it there. So really, I should have a reference here because I'm kind of just being silly at this point doing this. But I'll show you what I was trying to do. So I was doing this so that we could have the correct actor iterator here. But really at this point, I should just go with the reference because there's no reason to loop through right before we're dying. However, just to show you kind of where we're going here. This is what I was trying to do. I was trying to get all actors of class and then do this. Gain experience with experience. What would we call it? EXP value. This is what I was trying to do. This would still work. It's not the end of the world. At least this would get cleaned up right after. But, hey, sorry, I was eating dinner. You working hard or hardly working? I'm hardly laughing, David. I love that. I love that one so much, but I can't take credit for it. I would feel guilty if I took credit for it. I am not nearly as funny as that guy is. I'm not nearly as funny as he is, my friend. But I really appreciate you saying that because it made me laugh. Thank you, good sir. I would also add, when you explain stuff, let us go with you through your thought process. It really gives us so much value. So again, thank you for what you're doing. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I do try to do that. I'm definitely getting better at it. So don't worry. I agree entirely. I think there is a lot of value in going through the thought process. And in fact, you know what? I'll take your advice and I'll explain this right here. What I was trying to do and why I think it might be better to do it the other way. So good call. Thank you for the support. And I will try and be better at that. Redeemed hydrate. Oh, I already hydrated. And also, I don't have that. All right, David. All right. So yeah, let's take a step back and go over this. So what this is an iterator, as I explained, and it basically goes through all your actors of a certain type, or essentially, it actually goes through every actor and tries to grab only a certain type. And if the actor that it finds can be cast properly to this actor, then we know that we've found an actor that we need. In this case, since we only have one player character, I was trying to grab this so that I would know where the player character was so I could give them an experience value. I don't want to have a player character reference on every single enemy because if I do, then even enemies that don't require any sort of interaction with the player, like if they're just flying back and forth and, you know, they have no care in the world about tracking the player, then I have all these references that I don't really need, and they actually are taking up more memory in our game, and things like that. So really, it's not great to have a player reference, but this is also a bit overkill to do in just the die function. I think I'm actually going to leave it for the time being, because the only time we would ever need a player reference in an enemy is if we're going to be giving the enemy something when we die, which in reality we could just call it trigger a game world event. Which is basically like a, in the game mode, you can have an event that, you know, grabs the player, and then the game mode has the reference to the player that they spawn, and then it triggers it. Now, that's what we should do, but I don't think we have... Do we have the game mode set up to do anything right now? Because if we don't have it set up right now, it's kind of a bit overkill in this episode. I don't think we do. I mean, I can look real quick. Yeah, we have the default pawn class still. Okay, so I'll tell you what. I will leave this for now. I will leave it like this for now. But seriously, we will update this when we get into adjusting the game mode to spawn the player and things like that. We will keep a reference. So you can keep note of this if you want to do it on your own before I get there. So spawn the character from your game mode. Save the character out as a reference, not just the class, but the actual object, the actual actor that gets spawned. And then have the enemies get the game mode, which is a lot easier than getting the specific actor and looping through. And then trigger the logic, call that function to trigger the logic to have the player gain experience. But isn't actor iter returns an array? So yeah, you're technically right. The actor iterator will return an array. It will basically sit here and loop through all these. But it's not that it's returning an array. Like this isn't an array. This is just a pointer to the actor iterator, and we're doing something called dereferencing it to get the value of the iterator. So this in its entirety. The way like get all actors of class returns an array, that's because it's actually a separate function that they use to iterate through all actors of that class and then return you an array of those actors. In this case, I'm just grabbing the specific actor, the first one that it finds really, since we'll only ever find one at the current time, and then performing the action we want on it. Yes, you are correct. You are correct. If we have multiple characters using this method, then every character of this type would gain experience. You're 100% correct. Which is why I think we need to adjust it to the game mode. Because if you adjust it to the game mode, you can have the reference that killed the enemy and give it just to them, or you can just call the function in the game mode and then give every player experience. And that's why I'm saying when we update the game mode, I will update this function. But I'm going to leave it for now because we don't have the game mode set up. We can do it at the end of the stream if we're done with the experience and still have time. Can I request something? Do not anything before video. You write some code before video, and this is confusing. I don't write any code before these live streams. I write the code, if you're talking about like the fighting game tutorial, I do write the code prior to the video, but I actually kind of have to do that. The reason is I'm using the fighting game, the Super Smash Bros., the action RPG, and the first-person shooter tutorials. They're all kind of for me to learn, to be honest. So I've been in software engineering for 5 years professionally, and I've been on Unreal engineering for 3 years, and I really like Unreal Engine. But I do have a lot of work that I have to do to learn. I have to learn a lot of this. So a lot of times the reason I don't live stream things that I don't necessarily know, it takes time. Like we live streamed and we needed the behavior tree and it ended up working out. We figured it out. But I wouldn't want to do that in the video. I would have to figure it out beforehand and explain it. So I have gotten that before. I'm not against doing that. It is a lot more work for me, and it actually opens up to some other issues where I do a lot of playtesting after I already do it to try and make sure I didn't break anything else. And I like that, but I will genuinely think about it. I do get people who ask me to do that, so I will maybe do it. I don't want to commit to it yet because I don't want to ruin the quality of the videos. I know it can be a little bit more confusing. But yeah, that's why I do it that way. I do have a reason for it. Where were we here? So yes, you're absolutely right. This will gain it for all characters. At the end of this episode, if we have time, I can switch it to the game mode. But for now, let's just do it like this. This should work, and we can always update it later when we actually make the game mode. So gain experience, experience value, and this is whenever they die. So this should work. Let's go ahead and play it. Your videos are instructive. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Listen, I get you were just offering criticism, and that is absolutely okay. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. And for the record, I can understand why it's confusing for me to have already written it. I've gotten much, much better with not forgetting things in the videos because I write things down as I make changes now. But I still get it can be confusing. That's on me. I'll take full credit for that. So I don't blame you at all, my friend. But I do have my reasons for doing it, is what I was saying. So look, we killed the zombie. And now our experience is not 0 out of 5 in the HUD in the top left. It is 3 out of 5, which the zombie is worth 3 experience. Now when we kill this one, we go back to 0 experience and we actually leveled up and we reached level 1. And now our algorithm worked and we need 15 experience, which is accurate because we take our level, we multiply it by 10, which was our arbitrary level modifier, and then we add the value that we want to have the arbitrary level experience at, which is 5. So now we require 15 experience. I don't actually have any more enemies in the level right now. So, yeah. That's where I'm at right now. Return array, redeemed hydrate. Yep. Okay, cool. So, alright, with that, now we can gain experience. Now we can level up. And we are good. I was not aware of Truncate and Append nodes. Shown as miss flip-flop and retrievable delay even after 3 years of work and UE4. Always have something new to learn. Yeah, hey, you'll always have something new. So listen, that's a really good point. Like, I am far from perfect. I mean, I am not at all the best engineer out there, let alone best Unreal engineer. And I don't claim to be. So always feel free to bring something to my attention. Say, hey, this is a silly way to do it. You can just do this. There's a good chance I just don't know. There's so much in Unreal. Think about it. There's so much in Unreal. They have over 200 members working on the engine alone for years and years. Think of how much work 200 people can get done in that amount of time. So yeah, like, you know, I could just miss something. And so you're right. You showed me retriggerable delay I did not know about, and it is very useful. Like, whenever... Lots of time. I mean, I don't have to... It's pretty self-explanatory, but lots of times that could be useful. And the flip-flop... Yeah, the flip-flop I just learned today. Actually, I did not know. Like, usually I would reset the variable myself, which looks like you don't really have to do that anymore, which is really nice. Truncate and Append. So, are you talking about, like, a string? String truncate and append? Because I know it does have append. Integer, no, float has truncate. I don't know if that's what you're referring to. I am aware of those nodes, but if it's a different truncate and append, definitely let me know. I'm happy to learn. Also, thank you for that. I like that. I appreciate that you came online 3 times. Thank you very much. That was David messaging me. Privately. He's like, I came on 3 times, sorry to disturb your stream. Yes. Okay, so at this point, actually, though, we have our experience working, we have our leveling up working. The other thing I wanted to do is I did want to have some, like, oh, if you reach this level, you can, like, double jump or something. We might do that. I'm trying to think. Yeah, we could do that. I almost want to wait on that and do like a skill tree as a separate thing. We could fix up the game mode and make the game mode have the reference to the player and then trigger everything in the game mode. That would be the better way to do this. My clone. Yeah, I guess. Yeah, it is other David. That's what I call him. I'm not sure if he's your clone or not. I think he's just someone with the same name, but could be wrong. Can't hit him anymore because we disabled the logic. All right. Yeah. Let's clean this up. So this works. This isn't even really a bad way to do it, but it's not great. It's really doing more work than is necessary because the enemies are probably going to have. They're probably going to be spawned from the game mode anyway. So, you know, we'll have that reference to the game mode, or at least we'll be able to get the actor that spawned them, in which case we could then tell the player to gain experience. So, it's pretty much just a better way all around. Now, if we're going to do that, what we need to do is we need to make sure that our game mode is capable of handling everything we need. I have not adjusted anything for it. I found it useful to append a print string and string values, just like player 1 can move plus true in a single string. Oh yeah, got you. Yeah, append is very, very useful. We even used it right here, actually. I don't know. We used it right here in this binding. Append is so good. It's good in code too. It's a professional function. I love it. Yeah, so we can do the game mode now. We can set that up. That would be a good thing to set up. Did I even make a game mode? I did. I made base game mode BP. Okay. And is it spawning? It is the one spawning the paladin character. But I still have a player start though. Okay. So that should work then. It's going to spawn the paladin character. We should be able to keep a reference to the default pawn class. We could get all actors of class here. The only problem with that is then I want to be able to really do it in code. I'd have to cast. It's kind of annoying. I could keep a reference to the variable in the code and then save it out in the BP after we know that it's spawned because the class fired. Then we could do it. We can do that. That'll be faster because then we only have to get we don't have to iterate through any actors or anything. We get the game mode one time. It does have the player reference, but we're going to need the player reference in the game mode anyway. And then we can just flip a switch and say, do this. All right, let's do it. So in the game mode, we're going to need a reference to our player. I'm going to clean this up real quick because no one wants that. Remember, we don't have the type in here. I'm going to call this player. We can make an array of players if we want to have more, or if we have just 2 players and we end up allowing multiplayer, then we'll just call it player 1, player 2. But for now, this is fine. I have to put it above generated. If you put an include below generated.h, then it will actually give you issues. That has to be the last one in the list. Here's player. Now the only thing is, we don't need this default pawn class, by the way, anymore. This is setting it up in code, so if you don't have a blueprint game mode, you can set it here. But we do have the blueprint game mode, and if we want to change it later, great, we can. Again, it doesn't really matter. It's easy enough to change later. You just have to do this. So what I'm going to do is actually get rid of that. And I'm not going to set anything in the constructor as of now. Oh, right. We were going to cover the overflow. Thank you for pointing that out. I forgot. I meant to show you how to do that, and I forgot. That's on me. Yeah, we can do that right now. So, okay, overflow experience. Basically, it's as simple as you do the calculation before resetting the current level experience, but then make sure that you reset it at some point. That way, only the remainder is present. And if we want to do that, and honestly, again, I think it's the better way to do it, we can do if current level XP is greater than or equal to EXP to level, then what you can do is current level XP minus equals EXP to level. You get the difference. Sorry if I could type for some reason. And then we don't reset it to be 0. Okay, so you do this change, and basically it's saying, okay, we've reached the threshold that we need to go to the next level. At this point, we don't want to reset it to be 0. We actually want to get the difference. So think about this. You have 10 experience. Your experience level is 3. Well, let's do it so there's only 1 level. So you have 10 experience. Your experience level is 7. If you do 10 minus 7, you've used all your experience for that level. You have 3 experience remaining. That is your current experience for the next level. So if we do it just like this, this should work. EXP to level is going to change, which is why we need to do this before we level up. Remember, EXP to level is set in determine EXP to level, which is set in level up. Well, it's just called from level up, so we had to do this before we call level up. And I think this should work just fine. We can check it. But yeah, I think we're doing good. We're getting a nice level up system here. We'll probably wait on doing like additional features for leveling up, because I think we could probably either knock out like a skill tree if you played like Ori and the Blind Forest, that kind of style. And now, say we kill the zombie, we get 3 out of 5 experience. Say we kill the other zombie, we get another 3 experience. 3 plus 3 is 6. We needed 5 initially, so instead of needing instead of needing to go from 0 to 15, we now need to go from 1 to 15, but we still leveled up. So now we have that overflow experience. Thank you for pointing that out. For real, I forgot it that we were going to do that. So you can do either or. There are games that you reach that experience and just resets you and cuts off the rest. You know, I think this one's more enjoyable, but by all means, pick whatever you'd like. And now in the game mode, we did set we made a variable for a player. And we didn't set it in the CPP file because it's a pointer. We need to get the reference. I don't want to iterate through. We're spawning the player by default in the game mode BP. So we can either iterate in the game mode BP, which kind of eliminates the purpose here, but it is easier to do. And it's actually a little bit cleaner because of the class filter. Or we can, when we spawn it, grab the result of the spawned actor. Now, we can do either of those things, but regardless, if we're going to do one of them, we do need to, of course, do our U property stuff. That way, right here. That way, sorry, I was trying to make sure that I did that right. So that way we can set this in the game mode BP. And remember, it doesn't really matter if actually, let me stop this. It doesn't really matter if this is filled out or not. We here we can actually access it as long as it gets set out in the game mode BP. This is the parent class, so if the parent function gets called, then the parent function is still going to be able to use the variables that are set in it. Just if it's the child function, then we need to make sure we want to specifically call that. So that's probably a little bit advanced for what we need right now. We don't have to think about all that. Let's just go ahead and implement what we need. So what I wanted to do in the game mode is have a function to have the player gain experience. So let's add a U function. Again, we'll do blueprint callable. And we can do player or give experience. Give EXP to player. Okay? And if you do have multiple players, then you'll want to make sure you're giving it to the right player. Otherwise, it doesn't really matter. We just need to know how much experience we are giving. EXP to give. Okay? And now in our code class for the game mode, we can do a switch game mode and do give EXP to player and EXP to give. And then, oh, yeah, always a pleasure to help, my friend. Together we can do everything. Agreed. 2 heads are better than 1. I like that. I really like that. You're absolutely right. We can do everything together. And that's the beauty of the community, right? I appreciate that. Yeah, and thanks for looking out. It is always good. You know, it's funny, like, how many things slip by because you're not thinking about it. You're just like, come on, why is this not working? And then it just takes, like, one little thing. Or even, like, the camera. You're like, the camera. It's going past in the middle. And like, I played a ton of fighting games in the past. I'm not like a competitive fighting game player, but I played it enough where I should know that, but my brain just leaves it out. You know, you don't even realize you're missing it until someone points it out. Alright, so give EXP to player. Now, what this can do is this can have a reference to the player. I mean, it does. So we can basically check if player is valid. If player, you can do is valid if you want. I forget You do is valid level. There's another one. You can just do is not equal to no pointer. I'm pretty sure if you just do if player, it will work. There are some cases with pointers where you want to be specific. So let's just do it to be safe. Is valid level. Checks to see if the object appears to be valid. So this is what we want. This is the explicit way to do it. I can't remember if you need it for just a regular character pointer, but better to be safe than sorry. Doesn't really hurt us here. So if player is valid level, if the player is not, null pointer. If the player is valid is what this is. Now, we just want to call player gain experience with the experience to give. If I could type it. To give. There we go. And now we can call this from anywhere that we have a game mode. So if we have a quest system and we want to gain experience for, if the player should gain experience when they complete a quest, just use the game mode, call the function. This is so much better than doing it in the enemy. And it's just a simple change. So now we can get rid of this logic that we had in die on the enemy. I mean, we do need to call that, but we need to call it from the game mode. So the zombie, or well, any enemy, does not need a reference to the game mode. Well, they need a reference. They don't need to store a reference to the game mode. We do need to grab the game mode. But since it's not an actor, Unreal has a way to grab the game mode. We don't have to iterate through every actor to do it, which means we're using a lot less performance. Well, we're going to save a lot of memory while we're doing that, and we're not going to slow down our computer. At least not nearly as much. Now, I do kind of forget. I always kind of forget, so give me a second what it is. I think it's get world, get auth game mode. Here it is. Now, this auth is for authority. Basically, it returns the game mode that is valid on the server. You can have technically different game modes. Well, you'll need different game modes if you're playing two instances, like you're playing multiplayer. The game mode is stored on the server. So the clients have to reference the server. They will return null if you're trying to do this on client. That's basically what this means. It's not important now. All you have to know is that get auth game mode it's get authority game mode. I believe that's what it stands. I can't think of anything else it would stand for. And because of this, we will have a. We can determine if we're the correct game mode at this point to call our function by doing this. If cast a Twitch game mode, and then putting this result in the parentheses. Now, remember we were including the player here. Let's not include the player anymore. Let's include Twitch game mode. Wait. Yeah, Twitch game mode, because the project is Twitch game, and then it's the game mode from that. Now, we'll be able to access a Twitch game mode as opposed to a Twitch character. We should be able to. Twitch game mode. I think it's just being slow at the moment. Am I wrong? Yeah, it doesn't like that, huh? A Twitch game mode. With Twitch game mode. Yeah? What am I missing? I'm missing something silly. Did I spell it wrong? Game mode. Twitch. Oh! Ha. Okay. There we go. Yeah, it's confusing that I called it Twitch game and then there's game mode. My bad. Alright, so anyway, a Twitch game mode. And now we have that here. So now we can just use the game mode that we get. So if auto game mode equals this, a cast will return a result of this type. Auto is me being lazy. If you want to do this the right way, you do a Twitch game mode pointer like that. Did it again. You could do it like this. I think it's technically a little bit faster than auto. I'm not entirely sure because I've never actually checked, but could probably do it like that. There you go. If you're ever missing, like if you have an error like I did here under the bracket, it says expected a right parenthesis. So I just looked. I mean, I could see. Oh yeah, I never covered the one for the if. But when you are typing a parenthesis, it highlights blue, and it'll show you the one that it is closing on. So once you have the start and the end here, then you know you're on the right parenthesis. Now at this point, we have our game mode pointer. So now we can call the game mode. I forget what it's called. Was it give EXP to player? At this point, and we can pass in our EXP value. And yes, we have to do this, so it's not, we don't have a reference. But understand, this isn't bad. Like, this looks like you're like, oh, I gotta grab all this stuff. It's not bad. It would be worse, actually, to have a reference to the game mode and then keep using it. At least to have a reference in every single enemy like that. So it's easier to grab it and kind of forget about it. It doesn't necessarily make it better. There's always cases when you want to use one over the other. So, take that with a grain of salt. Don't just always use one method over the other. In this case, since this is the only thing we're doing with the enemy, we just need to give experience to the player. Then, in my opinion, this is much cleaner. It is definitely faster because we don't have to iterate through all the actors that reach the player actor. And it gives us the ability, as I said, to use this from other spots. Right here. We could call this function from anywhere we have access to the game mode. If we want to give arbitrary experience, if we want to give double experience because we have a object on, like, oh, we have a ring on, like in Dark Souls. Dark Souls, you can use a ring to get more souls from fallen enemies. Here, it's like, oh, we have this function. We can just call the game mode function and then pass in a higher value. It works from pretty much anywhere. It's pretty much foolproof. This is the better way to do it. Now, the only thing that's wrong with this is we don't have our player pointer because we weren't spawning our player in code. It's the default enemy, or excuse me, the default character that we are spawning. So what we should do is now go into Unreal, spawn our character, and then set the reference. And we need to make sure that that reference is set properly in the game mode. So we'll go into our game mode BP, which should now have access to this. That was amazing how I mentioned about overflow XP and you've done it in a single minute of time pass. Thank you. I get really excited about like experience and leveling up, and I just love it. I'm glad you enjoyed it. For real, I'm so glad. Okay, so we're gonna go into our game mode. Let's go into base game mode BP. Now, we have it here where we were setting our default pawn class to paladin character BP. And when you do that, it sets the player spawn, automatically spawns them there. Now, I clicked none for default pawn class. So if we try and play our game now, we are not going to spawn anywhere. No pawn was spawned, we can't possess a pawn, thus we're in this kind of limbo state. Right. If we want to fix that and we want to get our reference to the player, then what we can do is manually spawn them in the game mode BP. You could do this in the code class as well if you want, but regardless. On begin play of the game mode, what I'm going to do is I am going to get all actors of class, but I have a reason for doing it this time. This is definitely a point where we'd want to potentially do it for multiple players or maybe loop through them all, because I want to grab the player start in this case. You can have multiple player starts throughout a level. You can have multiple player starts for multiple characters. So this is a good time where you'd want to get all actors of class. Not like how we wanted to get it for just the player to gain experience in that case. So this is okay. Now, we should put the right class on it. So we need player start right here. And in this case, I know there's only one on my level, so I can safely get a copy and get 0 here. If you need other functionality, and I'm sure we will down the road, then we will modify this, but we don't have any of that set up. No reason to really worry about it now because I don't have plans to do that. Like, I don't have specific plans of how we're going to do that or how we want to set the levels in the future. So we'll keep it like this. We have our player start and we're getting the player start. At this point, we can then spawn the actor. We can spawn actor from class, and we want to spawn our character at this point. So we want to spawn the Paladin character BP, and we need to give them a transform, or basically a location. So I'm going to get actor transform of the spawn point, and then drag that in. And at this point, we're now spawning a character BP and spawning them where the network pawn is. But we're not possessing anyone. So you can see that things started to load because the character does exist. Like we have our hearts, our level, and experience, but we're not possessing them, thus we can't get the owner for the HUD, and there's a lot of things going on. So when we spawn them here, we do have to possess them at this point. We need our player controller. Since we don't have any sort of multiplayer or anything at the moment, we're okay to use player controller 0. And we need to possess. And then put the return value as the pawn. And there we go. Now we're possessing the pawn. You could also auto-possess. You could set the character to be auto-possessed. I just want to show you guys while we're here. This is typically bad, but it's good for if you only are ever going to have one player. I believe it's in just the character itself. And auto-possess player, you can enable this, player 0. This will enable you to automatically possess the player 0 character, or the player controller, without having the logic hooked up. Get out of here. Get out of here. By the way, this is something we're going to fix. I mentioned fixing this last episode. There's actually a reason I haven't yet, and you will see that in next episode. So I know you can hit toward the screen. One of the members of the Discord, Thedekins, had mentioned that, you know, it doesn't obviously look good when you can do this, and I agree, it doesn't. You know, you shouldn't be able to do this because I can't hit an enemy that direction. So we will fix that. We will probably fix it next episode. That's the plan for now. I apologize for not fixing it this episode. I got sidetracked doing something else, and then I figured I wanted to do the level stuff, so we did it. Anyway, I am going to disable the auto-possess because I don't really want to do that right now, but it is something you can do and you do have an option for. Otherwise, this is like the proper way to possess something. So now we're spawning them in the game mode, and guess what that means? That means we can actually get our character here. So let me show you. Yeah, we're controlling the character, but see how we killed that guy and we still have 0 experience? That's because our player variable in our game mode is actually not set up. So we need to set set player right here. So player isn't an Unreal thing. This is our variable that we set up right here in the game mode. Okay, so we're setting player to the pawn that we just spawned. Well, yeah, the pawn that we just spawned. Just like that. And now we should have a reference to it, and it should be valid because we're controlling them. So now as we killed him, you see we actually got 4 experience there. Because it actually happened twice. That's pretty funny. I did not consider that. Wow, I like that. That's funny. Okay, so I was actually able to kill him multiple times, as you can see here. This is because he's not being destroyed directly after, so it's like, oh yeah, you're killing him. So yeah, we can fix that too. But hopefully you see how this is working. You haven't gotten XP for zombie. Why? I think you're a little bit... I think that was from a little bit farther behind the stream. And to answer your question, it's because we never set up the player pointer. We never set this after spawning the paladin character. And thus, this variable we had in code was actually null pointer. And since if you try and use something on a null pointer, call something on a null pointer, your game will crash. And you know this because it's like the isValid checks we do. We added the isValid low level here, and thus this was failing, and we were never getting experience. Now the reason we got too much experience is actually unrelated to that. It's actually because in the base enemy CPP, we're giving experience to the player when they are dying, and this is going to be getting called multiple times because presumably I never stopped anything from having this be called multiple times. Like, we call die when they take damage, and they take damage from trigger death logic, which comes from if they're taking damage and they have less than the amount of health. Now, we call it take damage when we collide with the sword, so presumably I'm hitting them multiple times. Like, I hit him right at the edge, I should always get 3 experience. But if I walk right up to him, I can potentially get more than that. See, I got 2 hits off because I probably hit 2 times before we disabled any sort of collision. You see that? I got another 6 experience. So yeah, that's how that works. So the way to fix that would be when we are damaging the player here, we could make sure that they're not already in the dead state, which is kind of counteracting what we need. Really what we should do is make it to where the, I think it's done in here, right? Yeah. So this overlap that calls take damage, we should really just make sure that they haven't already been damaged from that hit, or better yet, just disable the collider until we return to idle. So like, for example, we can actually grab our weapon collider and set collision enabled, and we can have no collision. The only problem with this is if you're hitting multiple characters at the same time, it will actually disable collision for the your sword, so you can only hit one at a time, which you probably don't want to do. But this is one method you could do. You could disable it and then re-enable collision when you go back to idle. You could also disable collision on the enemy when they take damage, and then re-enable it once their invincibility timer is up. There's a lot of things you could do. What I'm going to do, because we got 13 minutes left, and I'm honestly going to try and wrap this up actually a little bit early, because I just got a call that I have to take. I'm going to kind of hack this a bit, and we will fix this next time. But I'm only going to give EXP to the player if they're not already in the dead state. In fact, I'm just going to skip everything from die if they're not already in the dead state. E enemy state. What is it? E enemy state. Oh. E enemy state. E dead. So basically, don't do any of the logic if the enemy is already dead. Like at this point, we don't need to call die. Hey dude, sorry I haven't been active. I've had your stream up, but I'm currently in the process of working on projects, so I can go. No, you're good, my friend. Don't worry about that. I appreciate you being here for real, but it's okay. No need. There are those consecutive sudden issues we haven't expected, but have to fix again and again and again. And that's coding, right? That's okay. It happens. But look, we just make sure they're not dead if we want to put them into the dying state. And now we can relaunch this. Okay. So yeah, I will actually wrap up once we get this working, and I will go take a call. But we're almost at 8 o'clock anyway, so this is good. And now, you see I only get 3 experience, and I should only ever get 3 experience, even if I'm right up against them. So say I'm like right here, and I got 3 more, which should translate to level 1 with 115. And now you can see it should be fixed. It was very easy to reproduce, and now we're not reproducing it. So there you go. We're golden. So this episode was incredibly fun. I really, really enjoy like leveling up and all that sort of stuff. We also fixed some issues. We made the game mode do the thing the right way, which in the fighting game we didn't do that till honestly pretty far along, like probably 10 episodes. Actually, I guess we're like 11 episodes in, so I don't remember what episode. I think we're on episode 10 right now, actually. I think it's like the same time. But anyway, yeah, we did it the right way. We got the leveling and the EXP working. We got overflow working. We have a way to make a level algorithm for experience. We have... I think that's pretty much it. But yeah, we fixed everything. We made the HUD look a little bit better. We were moving. I'm feeling good. I really just enjoy making games like this. So I'm glad you guys are here with me and you enjoy it. I really appreciate that. But I want to thank you guys for coming by. I am going to wrap up 10 minutes early. Like I said, I'm going to go take a call. But thank you so much for watching. Thank you for being here with me. I am so excited to continue this game. In the next episode, we will clean up the movement so that we go left, right, like left, and then we would be facing all the way left, and then I hit right, and we'd be facing all the way right. There'd be this note in between. And I'm not entirely sure what else we're going to work on. I mean, there's tons we can work on. I don't know what the next best thing to work on is. So I will think of something if you guys don't. But if you do have something you want me to cover related to the side-scroller series, then let me know. There's a very good chance I can push it forward. I don't really have anything in mind that has to be in a specific order. But, yeah. I think that's all I got, guys. So thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for being here. I will be back next Friday, 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on the same channel. Quick note, I do want to quickly advertise Twitch for real. I'm going to be fully transparent, just because I've had a lot of people ask me to play Bloodborne when I started streaming, and we're finally getting to the point where we're going to play Bloodborne. So if you want to check out my first playthrough of Bloodborne, twitch.tv/Shawnthebro27, you can go check it out there. Obviously, you don't have to. It's only if you want to, but I did want to mention it because people legitimately asked me to play that game. It's one of the few games that people were very adamant about, and we're actually doing it. So I feel like it's okay to put that here. But anyway, thanks again, guys. Thank you so much for being here, and I'm gonna head out. So thank you so much for watching. I know I keep saying it, but thank you so much for watching. How many times is that? Like 10? And yeah, I'll see you next Friday, guys. And as always, feel free to reach out to me in the Discord or email me in the meantime, and I'll be happy to get back to you. So have a good night, everyone. Great seeing you, and I'll see you next time. Okay, dude. Yep. See you, David. Thank you for being here. Lifting by ladder. You want to be able to go up ladders and stuff? Is that what you're saying? We can do that. I have no problem with that. I think we can do that next episode. That'd be a fun one. I'm good with all sorts of, like, those little mechanics are always fun to make, so I'm good with it. Yeah, just anything you got, just message me, and I'll compile it together. Thanks for thank you for being here, Everglades, and I really mean it. Thanks for sticking around and hanging out with the whole stream. It's so nice. All right, guys. See you later. Have a good night, and see you on Friday. Bye, guys.